Hello everyone, it's 2023 and the PlayStation 5s have already been out for a few years now, which is crazy. These consoles are timeless, I love them a lot, but let's go ahead and see one of the two of the variations of the PlayStation 5s you can buy and see how they kind of compare. Now this is the digital version against the disc version of the PlayStation 5s, and what's very interesting is that you are basically getting, I would say, very similar consoles between both. Like it really just depends on which specific one you prefer. Do you have a disc library of games that you already plan on buying? If you plan on buying mostly digital games, the digital PS5 is probably better, it's probably good for you, to be honest. So I will leave both these consoles linked down in the description. You can get them on Amazon, which they should be available now more widely, and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, what Sony did when they released both of these consoles is that they basically gave us a choice. They said, do you want to play your backup of disc games? Do you want to purchase disc games like actual physical games? Or do you want to just basically save a little bit of money and get a digital version of that console? Now, I ended up having both of these consoles. I currently own a disc model of this console, but when I first bought the PlayStation 5 back in 2020, the only option I could have gotten was a digital console. And the reason for that was because the disc ones were sold out all over the place. Now, why was that even happening? Well, it's because a lot of people wanted to have that disc version of the console over the digital one, and that completely makes a lot of sense. When you're having a disc slot like this, there's a reason why it's more expensive. There are so many people who want to have that backwards compatibility and also play a bunch of games that they've already purchased that are physical, and they want to have the ability of buying used games as well. That is one of the best things you have when you're getting a console like this. When you're getting a digital console like the PlayStation 5 digital, you can't, unless you have the digital version of those games, which is, probably the case for a lot of people. But for those of you who don't, well, you don't really have a way of playing those older games that you have. So that is the number one thing and the biggest difference between these two consoles. Do you want to go ahead and play your backup of games, that you have physically? Or do you want to play future games that come out that are, on physical disc? The reason why you may want to do that, for one, if you already have games, well, you can play them. But two, if you want to go ahead and purchase a physical game, let's say you play the latest game, and let's say for some reason you're done with it and you don't plan on playing it anymore, well, you can resell that game, you can give that game to somebody, you can do whatever you want to. With a digital game, there's not, you can't sell a digital game right now. There's not really many ways to do that. So that's kind of the area that we're kind of stuck in. With the PlayStation 5 disc model, not only can you go ahead and play, a brand new game and then sell that game if you want to afterwards, which a ton of people do, but what you can also do is that you can buy those used games. So the same situation that you would be if you were selling your game, there's probably people who are selling their older games, and you can go ahead and buy them and play them at a deep discount. So the $100 or $200 difference that you may be getting between a digital PlayStation 5 and or a disc PlayStation 5, you would probably be saving that over the years by just going through and just playing and buying those used games. So I do understand it's kind of a little bit of a weird thing to kind of understand, but in the long run, if you plan on buying used games or selling your brand new games, well, you would probably end up equaling out or saving your money, especially if you already have a physical library of games. If you have more than 5 or 10 games already and you play them all the time, you might as well go ahead and just buy that disc model because it's going to save you money from having to repurchase them on the PlayStation 5, the digital one. So that is by far one of the biggest things to keep in mind. Now, in terms of the, physical outside, how they look, clearly they both look a little tiny bit different. So this is the funny thing. I actually personally feel like the digital PlayStation 5 looks far more superior than the disc version of the PlayStation 5. I never really liked the design of the disc model of the PlayStation 5, and I feel like there could have been another way for Sony to kind of add that disc tray without having it stick out at the bottom. It makes the thing look so uneven, and it almost looks like it's a parody of a PlayStation 5. Like it looks like it's like a render somebody made. It seems like it was a render I would make or something like that. That's not even that good. So I never really understood why Sony did this. When they released the original digital PlayStation 5, I think they showcased that one first or something, and I would just see images of that thing all day, and it looked so beautiful. It doesn't even look like an actual console. Like it looks like a piece of art in my opinion. And I think that console in and of itself looks beautiful. I think, physicality wise on the outside, Sony did a better better job, I guess, going from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5 design-wise than, Microsoft did when they went from an Xbox One X to probably the Xbox Series X, or the Series S looks kind of decent. But I think that PlayStation 5, the digital one, is one of my favorite looking consoles of all time. It is still fairly modern, so of course it should look great. I think the Xbox One S is up there too. But with the PlayStation 5, I feel like the digital one looks so much better than the disc one. But again, how many times you're going to be looking at your console? You're probably going to set it up for like the first time, and then that is it. Beyond that, you're probably not going to look at this console anymore. And, it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. So for me, if, we have to like film these videos of these PlayStation 5s and stuff, so clearly it's going to look a little bit better and we're going to care about looks a little bit. But for those of you who don't, it's not really going to be that big of a deal either. And it definitely would not be a reason why I would switch from a PS5 digital or a disc one to a digital one in my opinion. Now, another thing that I forgot to mention is within that disc tray, you also don't have the ability on the digital one of playing any DVDs or Blu-ray discs. So Blu-ray, as we all know, it's like probably one of the biggest selling points of the PlayStation 3. PlayStation 4 had the feature as well, but we have the ability of still playing Blu-ray discs on our PlayStation 5. So if we get the disc one, right, what we can do is we can go to a store, we can go wherever, buy a DVD, or if you already have a massive, array of DVDs available, you can just go and plug in your Blu-ray CDs or DVDs in the specific, PlayStation 5, your disc one, and you can play those DVDs for you. So, it's just like another big thing. It's just like, there's just so many advantages of having a PlayStation 5 with that disc tray. And the biggest thing to keep in mind is that, the PlayStation 5 disc model can do everything that the digital one can do, but the digital one cannot do everything that the disc one can do. But beyond that, if that's not even that big of a deal to you, what's very, very good and what I like that Sony actually did was that they kind of overlap these consoles like crazy. There's not like a different controller or different features or different things that one console can do beyond the other one. Besides that disc tray, they have the same power built within. They have the same features built within as well. So it's not like you're getting a lower powered console on the digital one. That's not the case. Really, you're just getting that disc tray removed. That is it. With the Microsoft consoles now, clearly, they have to kind of power down the Series S for the most part because it is a significantly cheaper console. So it does make a lot of sense of what Microsoft's trying to do there. But with this console, I really do like the way Sony has approached it. And I think it's definitely a really smart thing that they did. So to kind of sum up the video, what I'll tell you is between both of these consoles, there's definitely clearly a winner. I think the disc tray model, the physical disc Sony PlayStation 5 is the far better console here. It's going to be giving you, I guess, more runway in the future. It's going to give you more capability, especially with more games. I feel like less and less games are becoming more physical, but for the games in the past that were made, for the games in the future that are still going to be physically made, you are going to be getting some really good, capability from that disc model of the PlayStation 5. But I think the digital one, if you don't plan on buying any physical games, or if it's too expensive, the disc one in your area, or if you can't even get it in your area yet, then maybe the digital one's going to be fine. But I can also see a lot of people buying the digital edition PlayStation 5 and being totally fine with it. I can see probably not as many people buying it and wanting, and wishing they got the disc model. So I think the digital one's probably going to be good. But if you have the, option, getting the disc one makes the most amount of sense for me. So that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.